Right. So, welcome everybody. It's just before 7 o'clock on Wednesday, day 3 of Operation Respond. Cannot believe that we're 3 days in. Well, I can, but I can't. So, welcome everybody. If this is your third night of 5, well done. You know, keeping it strong. We're same as the last 2 evenings. So if you're watching it on replay, please pop a comment in the comment section to say replay and that you're watching it, just so that we know when you're taking part. And don't forget to print off your key action points sheet from the file section so that you can jot down the actions you're going to take away from this evening's session. So as I say, I'm your host. My name is Imogen Edmonds, and I'm the owner of Redwing Solutions, and we're the UK's largest HR consultancy that specialises in day nurseries, preschools and out of school clubs. And it was my cracker's idea to bring you Operation Respond. So by Friday night at 8 o'clock, I may have regretted this decision, but so far so good. I hope you've really enjoyed the last 2 masterclasses. It's been fabulous to be part of it and to see your comments coming through. You know, we love it when we're delivering these masterclasses and, you know, you take the time out to hit the like button or the love button or to pop us an answer to a question, because it just makes it so much more worthwhile for you know our experts and for myself to see that you're enjoying what we're putting on for you. So I hope you've really enjoyed them and found them useful. Obviously, we won't see your names on the live stream unless you give StreamYard permission to share your names, and it's always nice to know who we're speaking to, because we can then use your name back to you, which is always nice if you're in a conversation. Tonight, I'm joined by Ben Rolfe of Childcare Marketing, and he's going to share his expertise in how we market our childcare settings and the importance of doing so and not stopping marketing, which everybody says, you know, people do when we're in challenging times. So, you know, I want you to really sort of think about the relevance of this marketing message this evening over the next 60 minutes and how you can perhaps use this to generate more business for your childcare settings, because, you know, this is an opportunity. As I've always say, childcare is a want and a need business. You know, I might, you know, want childcare for my child. I mean, I know I did for James. I needed him to go to childcare. That was pretty, you know, pretty much important to me, but I wanted him to be educated as well. So it is something that's quite recession proof. And we do need to sort of be positive if we're to overcome the difficulties of 2023 and sort of push all that negativity and that doom and gloom to one side and steer our own paths. So you're going to learn a lot this evening. Can't wait to hear what Ben's going to share with us. And as I say, jot down your actions, because that's where the real cleverness comes of attending these events, is for you to take down actions and to take those actions and put them into place in your settings. So please use the comments. Please let us know if you're enjoying it. And without further ado, I'll say good evening to Ben.
Thank you. And I'm really excited to be here as well. And I think the sessions that have already taken place, I have to say a massive thank you to those running those masterclasses, because I think they're absolutely brilliant. And I think it's so important. And this session today on the marketing side of things is we're going to go through that whole process in terms of reviewing your current situation, but all the way through to actually you formulating a plan for 2023. And I think those action points, and obviously making notes and obviously making sure you've got a list of points that you're going to go through after these sessions, it's all part of that planning process. And it's not necessarily all marketing, but it's business planning as well. And it's so important to obviously drive things forward in the right direction. In terms of ourselves, if you haven't met myself before, or if you haven't seen myself before, I basically founded Childcare Marketing back in 2020, just before the pandemic. So it's probably the worst time, but at the same time, potentially the best time to obviously start a business in terms of pre-pandemic times. We always had that mission to deliver something which was different to the sector, so far as implementing affordability, but also being able to be in that position where we're delivering high quality. And one of the things that we've been really pushing is delivering more than just marketing. And today, you know, we've got three brands in total. We've got Flourish, we've got Childcare Marketing, we've got Babel, all of which have helped us as a company be where we are today. And I think when you look at yourselves and when you look at your individual marketing plans and business plans, it's also a case of looking, okay, what more can I offer? What more can I do to make myself ahead of my competition? Or what more can I do to appeal better to my audience? And throughout this session, if you have any questions, and if you do have any comments or anything at all you want to share, please put them in the comments box as we go through, and we'll answer them as we go. Because today there's going to be a lot to take in a very short space of time, but we'll try and cover everything. We'll try and answer every question possible, basically. So when we look at areas of marketing, now this is just giving you a basic overview in terms of different digital areas that you can focus on, or you potentially are focusing on at the moment. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, explain every single point, but in terms of different areas of marketing, you can see here, having an engaging website, SEO. If you don't know what SEO means, it's fine. We'll go through that in a second. Social media, email marketing, paid advertising, reputation management, automation, PR. There's lots of digital elements of marketing. And, some of you may be doing one or two of these things, or may feel that you've got one or two of these things. Some of you may have all of these things, which is great. However, it's a case of taking it one step at a time and making a plan of action so you're able to implement different areas of marketing as time goes on. And this year could be the year where you say, my website is not where I want it to be. This is the year that I'm going to make my website engaging. And that's an action step that you can take this year. And obviously by the end of this year, you can tick that off when it's completed. The same goes with SEO. If you don't know what SEO means at the moment, it stands for search engine optimization. But if you don't know what that means, have a look online. Go into detail in terms of, okay, what does SEO mean? Where do I currently rank? Where am I currently positioned? And it's a case of taking these individual marketing elements and making a plan for those elements and implementing further strategies in the future. When we talk about marketing, and this has been an ongoing thing that, as time's gone on and as I've had more conversations with more and more providers, as of today, we work with over 600 providers around the world. And the main problems with marketing, and this is the main things with all providers at the moment, time is a major issue. Time is always been an issue, and time will always be an issue until we're in a situation where something changes with regards to staffing, or something changes with regards to your internal processes. And that comes obviously with business development and business growth. There's a lot for you to review, and there's a lot in terms of you have to do in order to get time for your team, or even time for yourself. However, when we look at it from a marketing point of view, time is a problem, and it always has been a problem for marketing internally, especially within the childcare sector, because you don't have the time to necessarily do everything, and nobody has the time to do everything. And I completely understand that. And if we go back to those marketing elements, it may be the fact that you haven't done two of those things because you simply haven't got time to go through it. You simply haven't got time to learn what SEO means. You simply haven't got time to go into detail about paid advertising or review your paid advertising regularly. There's lots of different elements that actually you may not have time to do, but with a good marketing plan, that may actually resolve some of those issues. Not every issue, but some of those issues. Wrong marketing materials. Again, with regards to marketing, it may be the case that you're doing lots and lots of different things. You may be doing leafleting campaigns, which are great, but it may be the case that actually those materials that you're sending out are not appealing to the audience you're sending them to. So again, it's another element and another problem that we come across quite regularly is actually having good quality materials that meet the needs of your audience, or meet the needs of your parents is the best way to look at it. Inappropriate way of promotion. This is probably a common one in terms of when we look at things in terms of within the sector, because actually, am I doing the right type of promotion? Giving a leaflet and doing a leafleting campaign, is that better than running a paid advert on Facebook or on Google? And these are key questions that you need to be asking yourself, but it's a case of how do I ask myself and how do I go through that process, which we'll come on to in a second when we start going through a marketing plan and discussing those points. Not measuring promotion effectiveness. This is a major one, and it's come up, I think, twice already in these masterclasses. It's measuring your success and measuring your business growth, or measuring your management, looking at everything in detail. How does that connect to your time? How does that connect to your budgeting and how much you're spending on certain elements? So it's a real key area to really focus attention onto. And then the final one under marketing problems are very much lack of communication with consumers. This one here is all about consistency. If you're able to have consistent communications going out to your potential customers or your current customers, then that's a good place to be. If you're finding that you're doing and the best example, social media. If you're doing one social media post a month and then you've forgotten about it for the month because of the other problems, it could be time, it could be you haven't got the resources to do it. It doesn't necessarily work because you're ending up in a situation where it's so few and far between that it's not aiding your growth, it's not aiding your marketing potential. And it's a case of ensuring consistency throughout. And all of these elements here, they all add up to making sure that things are consistent and things are working for you, basically. And the answer to all of those problems is a good marketing plan. And it literally is as simple as that. I don't think that anybody I've ever spoken to has been in a position where we've got all these problems and there's no answer to them. There is always an answer. And a marketing plan obviously gives you that answer in terms of it gives you a solid foundation, solid things to look into. And as we go through the marketing planning process and going through marketing plans, it's a case of looking at each individual element and making sure that we're giving you takeaways. So after this, you can go take them away and actually be in a position where I'm going to implement this in the next month, or I'm going to implement this in 2 months' time. And it's making sure that there's that consistency and there's that sort of direction in terms of approach on what you're looking to do. And a big one from Imogen just then, hands up, you've got a marketing plan. It's so important to have a marketing plan. It applies. I mean, if you've got a business plan, you could look at that as actually, okay, some of these elements linked to a marketing plan, but it's always good to have a marketing plan as a separate document, but keeping it as simple as possible. Please comment if you've got a marketing plan, because it'd be very interesting to see who has and who hasn't. So we'd actually done a short survey prior to this masterclass tonight. And the survey is quite simple. If you haven't done it and you're watching on your computer, scan the QR code now and you can do it. If you're on your phone, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back onto the group and find the link. But in terms of the survey, the idea is that we're now going to go through what your results were and your responses were to marketing questions relating to actually how well structured your marketing plan is and how well each element of your marketing is currently working in relation to your plan. And the questions were well structured in such a way that we've asked so many different questions that I'm going to just take a sample of those now and just run through them and explain them to you. But actually, it's a case of they all tie into that marketing planning process. So here's a review of all of the scores that have been completed already. And we've got an overall score, which just gives an overall summary of engagement and influence. And each element, so engagement on its own, basically means how engaging you are to your current audience and how engaging and interactive your marketing is, and how that is really linking in terms of your activity. So how much are you doing at the moment for your own marketing? And then influence is the impact that you feel you're having on your potential customers or on your current customers. So the simple way to look at it is engagement is what you're currently doing and the activity you're doing. Influence is how that's making an impact on your audience, or how you feel that that's having an impact on your audience. If we go through now each question, we're going to go through each element basically, and each question relates to a certain element of marketing which we discussed earlier. So search engine optimization was number one. And as you can see here, 17% of you said, yes, I know how to influence my SEO results through content. 83% of you said, no, I don't have a clue. And it's absolutely fine. SEO is not an easy topic to go through. And I was actually expecting probably a bit more on this sort of the yes side than a bit less on the no yes side compared to the no side, even more than this, because it is a hard topic. And to give you an idea, in my experience, I'm actually an SEO specialist myself, and it's taken me 6-7 years to get to the point of actually being able to implement a really good strategy. And that is still not perfect. It's a constantly changing environment, and actually understanding a topic like SEO, it's not something you'd expect everybody to be able to pick up straight away. Paid advertising. Now, do you run any paid advertising campaigns on digital channels like Google, Facebook, and Instagram? 33% of you said yes, you do. 67% said no. The big one here with paid advertising is it's all about that immediate impact. if you're not running paid ads at the moment, it is something to seriously start considering. And the same goes with SEO. If you currently don't understand SEO, how it works, start to have a look into it. There's lots of places where you can do free audits and free checks. The same with paid advertising. There's lots of places where you can just do a free audit, see how it's going, or see the impact that you could make from paid adverts. And in our experience, we've got pretty much over half the clients that we start working with probably have got paid ads running at some point. And when we go through those adverts, it's a case of actually reviewing their scores, reviewing the impacts made previously. And if there is an impact there, which there always will be if things are set up properly and targeted properly, but it is that difficult element of understanding how I can do that and how I can go onto Facebook and run a paid advert and run that ad so it's easy for me to track and easy for me to monitor. You can see, Caroline here, previously, but Facebook's made it more complicated. Exactly. It has got tricky. And a lot of advertising companies are actually making it more difficult for people purely because of it being too easy previously in terms of, boosting a post and being able to track and monitor those results. It's a case now of actually, if you want to make a real impact, you've got to set campaigns up properly. And I'm not saying it's impossible for all of you here today to do that. It's a case of just looking into it and researching a bit, potentially adding it into your marketing plan as one of those things that I'm going to look at this year. And I'm going to focus on actually running a paid ad this year, measuring the impact, and then feeding back for future and being able just to say, end of this year, I ran a paid advert for August and my occupancy actually grew by 10%. And it's a case of just continuously monitoring everything you're doing and all of that activity and linking that back through. We've then got social media scheduling. Now, this is one which really links in to that time management element. Pretty much, everybody that responded also put yes to the question, I have social media accounts and I manage social media profiles. I think it was literally 1% said no, which is great because it means that all of you have social media, which is a good start. But in terms of that time management side of things, when we say you want to improve efficiencies and you want to improve your capabilities within marketing, using a social media schedule or using a calendar, and you can actually do this on Facebook if you wanted to, but there's loads of tools out there. You've got Hootsuite, you've got Agorapulse, you've got Hello Woofy, just to name a few. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for. But to be honest with you, by having a social media scheduling tool that you can literally just schedule all of your posts for up to 12 months in advance, it alleviates a lot of pressure away from actually scheduling all of your event posts throughout a year, for example. So it could be, you don't have to have the exact images or the exact content. It could be you're just doing the text for the next year. And then when it gets to that day, it sends you a reminder. You then just upload the image to that platform, job done. And it is one of those things that can save a lot of time. We see in terms of time saving, if you use a scheduling tool, you're normally going to be saving 4 hours if you're doing 7 days a week posting, basically. So if you're doing 1 or 2 a week, it's probably more like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but it's still a time saving that actually, if you add up the cost of your time and you add up the cost of the system, you'll probably find the system works out less than what your time is, basically. I've just seen a comment there. I'm a complete tech dinosaur, but realize I need to get really more savvy. Look, to be honest with you, it's not a case of necessarily getting yourself more savvy. It's a case of, can you delegate this to anybody in your team? Does anybody in your team have experience within social media? Does anybody in your team have experience with paid adverts in the past? And if they don't, it's a case of, going to just getting some advice or doing some training if you can. And potentially, that's the route to take. But we always see it, especially when it comes to social media, because it's an easy one to talk about because we all do it. There's a lot of strategies you can do. And one example that I saw the other day was a nursery have got a board in their staff room, and all of their staff go in and write on there post ideas for that upcoming week. So it could be, for example, this is Easter week, and we're doing Easter egg hunt in the 0 to 2s room, or we're doing this in this room, and actually a recipe idea for making Easter cupcakes that are healthy. There's lots of things that you can do to get your team to engage as well. And actually, you'll probably find that within your team, and you hope potentially in your team you've got some people in your team that are really good on social media personally and can obviously help with regards to your business social media as well. But that's social media obviously is one element that's probably easier to talk about and easier to go through. If you look at paid advertising and SEO, of course there is a bit more complicated, but even so there still may be some potential within your team that you can do to maximize that. I appreciate the top of this has been cut off, but basically the question is, how do you collect data about your likes, clicks, and shares? Pretty much everybody said no. I'm not surprised, but in terms of calculating your return on investment, which I think was mentioned on Monday, in terms of looking at your return on investment, looking on your expenses and looking on how you're getting a return on investment for every expense, whether it be time saving or whether it be a monetary, or whether it be an increase in inquiries or an increase in applicants for recruitment. This is a really key one for looking at that ROI figure and being able to track all of the activity you do. This obviously relates just to social media, but if you tracked all of your paid advertising activity, SEO activity, Facebook analytics, you're able to see how much time has been spent on this, but also what's been the response from that post. How many people have made an inquiry? How many people have applied for this job because of this post, or because of this paid advert, or because of this SEO work that's been conducted on my website? So it's always a case of having that response. Some of you may work with marketing agencies, or you may have a marketing person. It's a case of asking them, okay, what's my return on investment here? What am I getting for the money I'm spending? Where is that return? And if they can show you that return, it's box ticked. If they can't, it's a case of, right, let's have a look. Why can't we see that? I want to be able to see that. And they're key questions that you can ask to make sure that actually down the line, you're in a better position when you're looking at every activity you're doing from a marketing point of view, and making sure that those activities are very much aligned. So far as, if I'm running paid adverts, I need to know every pound I spend, what I'm getting back for that pound being spent. And if I'm getting nothing, why are we doing it? And asking those really difficult questions sometimes, if we're not getting anything from this, what's the point, basically? Like I see Fiona there's a business suite on Facebook has those options. Yes, it does. Yes. So if you go onto business suite on Facebook, you can have a look at all of your insights and all of your tracking, all of your analytics. You don't need to go anywhere else. And the same goes for scheduling. Facebook is also through Facebook Business Suite, you can also manage your social media scheduling. So you don't need to use a tool like Hootsuite or Agorapulse. You can use Facebook Business Suite to do that. The only disadvantage of Facebook Business Suite is it doesn't cover every platform. And what I mean by that is, you may have Facebook, you may have Instagram, but it's also thinking about your Google My Business page, which some of you may or may not have looked at in the past. But if you go onto Google and type in your location, if you click on the map, and if it says next to your card on the map, claim this business or own this business, that means that page probably hasn't been claimed, or it might have been claimed in the past, but not by yourself. Click on own this business, and that will then it will take you through some steps to gain access to your Google My Business page, which is another area to really look into. And as a business owner, it's quite important to be on that.
Do you think we should show people how to do that if we get time, Ben? Because I know that Google My Business is free, isn't it? So if you're not claiming that piece of real estate, you're missing out.
Exactly. And at the end of this call, we can happily.
Yeah, I know that I've got it, so we'll bring up Google for Redwing Solutions, and you can see my Google My Business.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I can see on there from Anne, I've been told that people in their 20s and 30s aren't using Facebook any longer. Is this correct? Instagram now or what? To be perfectly honest with you, in terms of response, now this is where we look at the bigger picture, and we'll come on to looking at return in a minute in terms of how each channel reflects to give you a return, or time spent on each channel and give you that return. If you look at audiences and you look at data, if you're doing a lot of tracking analytics, as on the screen here, lots of you that have completed this survey are not doing any of that. You can't necessarily say that's the case. It is the case in some areas, and it is the case in some sectors. It is the case in some situations. But if we look at how many people are using Facebook and how many people are using Instagram, more people are still interacting on Facebook than what they are on Instagram when it comes to messaging and it comes to comments, just because it's easier. In terms of activity, it really, really, really depends on your business and how you're targeting that audience. Facebook is very much still a place where you can get lots and lots of inquiries, lots and lots of people interacting with you across all ages. Instagram, it's a lot more difficult to build that following and build that interest up in the same way. But if you're running things like paid adverts, you can do it across both platforms, and you can have that impact across both ways. Again, if you're tracking and analyzing your data, it's really straightforward to have a look exactly what's going on where, basically. And then there's a final few. This one's obviously a big one. Do you have a clear understanding of your marketing ROI? I appreciate it says ROI, so you may not have associated ROI with return on investment at the time, but basically 89% of you said no, 11 said yes. This is a massive area that you need to look at, and one area that I've got a few cheat sheets on, actually, which I can send through and put onto the group after this. Those sheets are brilliant because it helps you calculate your ROI for everything you're doing, whether it's your time, whether it's you're spending money on something. We can go through that, and obviously I can explain that in one of the slides as well in a minute. But ROI is a massive area to really look into, and having that understanding is so important. And then the final one is overall marketing impact. Now, this basically is on a scale of 1 to 5, how effective would you say your marketing is? 5 is actually top of the scale, 1 was actually bottom of the scale. You can see, everybody's kind of sort of, in the mid-range, which is expected. I personally would say, in terms of when you look at marketing as a whole, you've got so many elements to consider. You're never going to be a 5 out of 5 unless you've got a team of people constantly looking at everything and constantly going through all of the data. And even then, there's still always room to grow, which is why having a marketing plan is going to be so important, basically, for this year. And Caroline, we use TikTok for increasing brand awareness. 100%, it's a great place to be. We've seen most success on TikTok for recruitment purposes, less so for parent inquiries, but even so, from a brand awareness point of view, yes, 5 out of 5 for that one. It's absolutely brilliant for that purpose. But the one thing to consider, with regards to, if you're on this session now, is, am I managing myself okay at the moment with the platforms that I've got, or is everything then that you're talking about now just going to completely overload me and send me into a situation where I just simply can't control it because there's so much to do? I wouldn't think like that at all. Just think about what you're doing now. If you're doing everything, if you feel that everything's going really well now and you're ticking those boxes now, in terms of these questions especially, definitely look into other platforms. If you're not, I would say just take a step back, have a look at your Facebook, have a look at your Instagram, have a look at your other channels, and then obviously move on to other platforms, basically. But Caroline, TikTok is really, really good for brand awareness. So you may think, okay, Ben, you've just talked for ages about results. You've talked for ages about different things, and now I'm completely lost. It's a case now of really thinking about going back to basics. And going back to basics means just going back to square one, thinking actually, how can I make now a plan for 2023 that's going to connect me better to my marketing, going to connect me better to my audience, going to connect me better to my current customers as well, and help me grow this year, but also be in a stable position for 2024 as well. And the best situation and the best thing that we've ever seen with regards to the webinars we've done in the past, the sessions done in the past, is that September drop for nurseries is a massive thing to look at, and a massive focus point all the time, every year. If you can be in this September in a position where your drop is half or quarter of where it was last year, that's going to be a huge achievement for yourselves. Or even actually, if this year's too soon, 2024, aim for having no drop, or aim for having half that drop of what you've had in previous years, because it is such a big thing that you can look at, and a big aim that you can write down straight away. Please, not please, but I do not want to drop this year, or reduce drop by 50%. It's a key aim that you can track and easily monitor as well, and it's not too difficult. Other than other marketing things, like other marketing jargon elements, that can be built into social media growth and all the rest of it. Just think about the bigger picture, basically. So the big question is, who are you? Do you know your brand? Do you understand what your brand is? And what we mean by brand is it is your name. It is your company. It's your logo. It's your identity. And then it's a case of, right, okay, if I know what my brand is, I know what my identity is, I know what we are as a company, does your company culture reflect that brand? And this is a big area that I've been working on. And if you know Alison Featherby, I've been doing a fair bit with Alison Featherby on this topic. It's connecting your company culture to your brand. It's an area that actually a lot of nurseries and a lot of childcare businesses do really, really, really well. However, sometimes there's always a disconnect. And if there is a disconnect, it's a case of, right, okay, how can I make sure that my identity, matches my culture, or my culture matches my identity? And if you think, I don't have a clue about either of these things, the best way to think about it is, if you're currently growing as a company, your team are happy, your team are engaged, your team are meeting your overall vision, your overall aim, your overall ethos, then that box ticked. If you're finding that, okay, my team are a bit demotivated, it's not quite the vision I had for my identity, then actually that's where you need to revisit the company culture element and really, really focus on that. But it's an area definitely to think about. Who are you? Are you able to tell me who you are right now, in terms of, are you able to tell me all about your brand and what your vision is? What are your unique selling points? If you can say this off the top of your head, absolutely brilliant. If you're struggling, actually, I'm not too sure, really go back to that drawing board and think, right, who are we? That's the first place to start when we look at marketing planning. The second step really to look at is then, okay, how does your brand connect to your culture? How does that then connect to my offer? And your offer is basically, what it is that you're selling. I hate using the word selling in childcare, so apologies. But what are you selling, or what are you offering to your consumer? And that's a real big area to look at, because if you're finding that you've got a really good brand, you've got a really good culture, but your audience are not quite that type of audience that you want to engage with, actually you're engaging with a completely wrong audience, because your brand's not quite right for that particular demographic or that area. So it's really a case of thinking, okay, this is my brand, this is my culture, and how are they connecting then to what I'm offering? Am I offering my services at the right price, or am I too affordable, or am I too cheap? Am I offering too much? Am I just giving too much away, and nobody understands what's unique about us? We're just giving away everything, and we're masters of nothing, based upon what parents can see. So it's a real big area to think about. Can you connect who you are to what you're offering? And again, it could be as simple as we're going down the route of the Montessori approach. That is what we're focused on. And actually, all of these elements within the setting connect to our offer, which is very much a higher price within the area. But in terms of service, in terms of quality, we're focused on Montessori, and that's what parents are buying into in that area. So it could be anything as simple as that, or it could be something more complex. But really think about how you connect to your offer, basically. And then who are they? Who is your target market? And this is sort of the second stage now of the marketing planning process. Who are you trying to appeal to? Who's your target market? Where do they fit in terms of demographic? What are the age of your target market? What are the genders of your target market? Where does that fit, and where do you see that working currently? And it may be as simple as, okay, we're targeting parents. Parents with children under the age of 5. It can be as simple as that. But in a wider sense, if you're able to connect this to the data that you're seeing on your social media, for example, or the data you're seeing in terms of paid advertising, you can really start to pick out, okay, is this really our target market? Are we targeting the right people based upon what we think our target market are? And it's asking these difficult questions that obviously lead to that success. And in terms of your marketing plan, at this point, I would write down target market and list, how old are your target market? What gender would you say the majority of parents are that make that initial inquiry? The next step, it could be, where are parents located? Are they located around a radius around the setting, or are they located in particular areas with regards to particular villages, particular towns, particular suburbs? Where are they based? And if you can write those down now, and just right next to them, just a quick answer. This is starting to build out your target market within your marketing plan. And it's as simple as doing that to start with, and then building on it. Okay, we've started there. Let's move on to interests. Where do our parents, where do the majority of parents go shopping? Is there a particular cafe in town that parents go to quite frequently? Hello? Hello? Sorry about that. Sorry. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me now? Yeah, perfect. Sorry about that. So yeah, sorry. Let's just say, in terms of interest, where does your target market go? Does your target market go to particular shops? Do they go to particular places within the community? Do they go to cafes? Do they go to a certain? Do they go to NCT groups? And it's a case of really, really thinking. Okay, am I able to list off these things? If you're not straight away, it's fine, but have a look into it. Do a bit of research and a bit of digging into that to see if you can work that out. And this is obviously the second part of your marketing plan. And then the final big piece, the final overview is who are we up against? Who or what are we up against is the big thing, because you've got your competitors, yes, and your competitors, you may love them, you may hate them, it may be a love-hate relationship. Some cases it's difficult relationship. Some cases it works, and actually you've got partnerships. But competitors is a really big one to think about, because if you're able to identify, who your competitors are, and have a list of your competitors with yourself, and please comment if you've got a list. If you've got a list of competitors, it'd be interesting how many of you do. It's a real key thing, and you can list them off. You can list their prices off. You can list their unique selling points off. But the big thing to think about always when it comes to competition and your competitors is actually, how are we better than them? And it's not a case of copying them. It's not a case of trying to be better. It's a case of knowing that you're better in terms of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. It's not a case of looking at, okay, they're doing this, they're doing extended sessions over Christmas. It's not about that. What it's about is actually, is your care and is your quality of care and your vision and your brand better than what they are, in terms of what you feel is better than what they are, not necessarily what they feel or anybody else feels. It's about what you feel and what you want. I can see here, Vicky, yes, and up-to-date prices. Perfect. If it's having that indication, it's having that down in terms of being able to understand, okay, these are my competitors, this is what they're charging at the moment, this is what we charge, and this is our offer, this is what their offer is. And you may find that actually your offer, you're trying to target a real premium audience, yet they're charging more, and they're not as premium as what you are in terms of brand or in terms of culture. So again, it could be one of those things that you revisit and say, actually, we may need to do a price increase, or we may need to increase our prices for new customers going forward, because it's simply, we're appealing to the wrong market here. The one in the middle, government. I'm not going to go into depth with this one because it is such a difficult area, and this obviously connects directly to staffing as well. Government changes. It literally is one of those areas that you can't. I've always said with the government changes and with sort of government, when you look at it from a marketing point of view, you can normally see what's going to happen. I think at the moment it's very difficult to see what's going to happen most of the time. So it's a case of just staying up to date, making sure you've got an understanding, of what could change and what that impact of that change could have. And a simple one to think about is, if it was given that parents were given, vouchers to pay for the whole childcare, what impact would that have on your setting? It's very unlikely to happen, but what impact would it have? And again, list down hypothetical situations and put next to them, have you got a plan for some of these hypothetical situations, or is there any contingencies in place? So if this did happen, how would you respond to that, and how would that response have an impact? And I think for 2023, a big area to think about is making sure you've got a contingency plan or making sure you've got a backup in place. And we saw with COVID, those that didn't necessarily have a backup in place, obviously struggled a lot more than those that did have a slight backup in place, albeit nobody really had a plan in place or a backup in place. But those that were thinking ahead in terms of, okay, what are we doing with our marketing now? Are we appealing to an audience now? Are we visible now? Those that were actually were okay in terms of throughout COVID because they had that online visibility. Those with no online visibility and were relying on word of mouth inquiries, for example, it was difficult, and it was more so difficult than those with obviously online visibility, digital visibility. So again, when I say contingency, it's not having an answer to everything. It's a case of, okay, are we doing everything we can? So if this did happen, we're as covered as we can be. And it can be as simple as government vouchers, for childcare or something like that. We've then got staffing, and staffing is another area of real frustration, I think, for everybody at the moment. And again, it will get better, but I think the main focus with staffing is really thinking about, and connecting this to marketing, is really thinking about, is my team engaged, and is my team supporting us with our current marketing efforts? And if you're finding your team are not engaged and not supporting, then that's where actually it can have a negative impact on your marketing as well. And what I mean by engaged in terms of staffing, and obviously interacting in terms of staffing, is are they going onto your Facebook? Are they liking posts? Are they actually sharing it, even if it's once a week or once a month, to local groups? Or if someone posts in the local group, are your staff hopping onto that and commenting back saying, oh yes, this, our nursery here, come and visit us. If your staff are doing that, that's amazing. You've got a really good team there. If they're not, potentially think, okay, is there any incentives we can offer our team? Is there anything we can do to try and get our team more engaged? Or going back to that idea earlier, have that whiteboard in the staff room. Get your team to write down some ideas. And if you use their ideas, they're probably more likely to share it and probably more likely to engage with it as well. So it's thinking about little things like that. But also, if you are understaffed or really struggling with staffing, it's a case of actually saying to your team, look, we still need to pull together. By marketing, by having increased visibility, it's going to help with regards to your recruitment. It's going to help draw in potential more applicants. It potentially will help with regards to your overall visibility as well. And now we've gone through sort of key areas. The big thing is now, SWOT analysis is my favorite marketing tool in terms of when we look at a setting. This is my favorite exercise to do. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? If you currently use SWOT analysis, is brilliant, because it's an absolute lifesaver when it comes to marketing. You may use it in other areas of your business already, and you can tie that straight into your marketing, because it's just the case of, okay, how what's strong about our marketing currently, what's weak about it, what opportunities are there in marketing, is there any other threats? Again, competition could be a major threat. But the big things are, strengths. Where are we strong in our marketing? Is our social media good? Are we posting regularly to social media? What's happening with regards to that? Are our parents engaging? Is our engagement, does it look strong? In terms of, if we just look at it, how many people are liking our posts? How many people are commenting on our posts? What's weak about it? Is there any areas that we feel, I don't like SEO? I don't understand this. Obviously earlier on we saw those stats. If SEO is a weakness, put it down as a weakness. It's an area that you can then think, okay, 2023, I'm going to focus on this area. Opportunities, again, if you were in a situation where you improved your visibility, what impact's that going to have? Do you know what your current visibility is? And if you do, put it down. Target. Increase visibility. That is an opportunity. It could be a local setting's closed down. Again, it's not a great situation in terms of the community, but it's an opportunity for yourself in terms of acquiring more parents, potentially acquiring more staff. It could be a setting in the local town's closed and you want to buy that setting, or a setting's come up for sale. You may want to grow your business. And again, these are opportunities that you can really put into your marketing plan as well as your business plan as well. Now we come on to aims. So we've looked at already your overall brand. So what your threats are, your SWOT analysis. So having strengths, having weaknesses, having opportunities, having threats written down. And now we come on to aims in terms of, okay, this is what we want to achieve as a business. We know all of the external factors. We know what we need to do. This is a case now of, okay, what is the target? What is it we want to go and achieve overall for our business? And this could be something as simple as increasing occupancy from 50% to 80%, or increasing occupancy overall. It doesn't have to necessarily have a percentage figure, because that's where we come onto our objectives. But if you've got an overall aim now, and you can jot down an aim that you want to do for your marketing, please write it down, because it's a real important starting point for all of you for 2023, so that by the end of 2023, you can go back onto this and say, oh, I achieved that aim. And it's a great feeling when you know you've achieved the aims that you've set at the start of the year. So quick exercise now. I mean, if you can write down 3 aims, and what I can do is I can obviously give you a bit of advice now in terms of what aims you could write down. If you are in a position where your occupancy isn't looking great, increasing occupancy could be an aim, and write that one down. If your staffing is currently a problem, ensure that my staff ratio is at a certain level, or increase staffing so I can increase capacity. And you may find that those 2 first aims, increasing occupancy and increasing staffing, have that direct correlation, because you have to take on staff in order to take on children. So again, those 2 aims actually may be very heavily correlated. So it may be a case that you achieve one, the other one's going to be achieved at the same time. And then the third one could be something as simple as learn SEO, and have an understanding of what SEO means. Again, it's one of those questions earlier on that it wasn't answered in terms of, it wasn't the most popular thing, but at the same time it could be something that helps you in the future. And if you're able to get to the end of the year and tick these 3 aims off, then brilliant. If you're not, it's not a problem. Just go back to start. Why weren't they achieved? What can we do next time to make sure we do achieve them? And then it's a case of, how do we achieve our aims? And in order to achieve our aims, we need to have objectives. And the difference between an aim and an objective is very much a case of, the aim is the overall of what you want to do. So the overall impact you want to make. An objective is something as simple as increase our social media engagement. Could be an objective. That could feed directly into inquiries. It could feed directly into new applicants, which then could in turn could feed into increased occupancy or increased staffing levels. Another objective could be complete section 1 of SEO course. Tick. It's a case of working through micro objectives to try and achieve those overall aims that you've set. So if you've set 3 aims now, think about 3 objectives per aim. Think, okay, I've got the aim of occupancy growth, 3 objectives. Objective 1, post more on social media, or post 7 days a week on social media across the next 3 months. Next one could be run paid adverts for the month of August with a budget of £200. It's a case of really just listing off micro things that can obviously add to those aims. But the main and most important thing with your objectives is really to think about, and this is an example of objective: achieve 13 inquiries on average across the next 2 months. Again, it's another good example. But the real big thing to think about is think smart. If you can think of the SMART principles, and if you don't know what these SMART principles are, we'll go through them now anyway. But in terms of thinking smart, it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And if you're able to work through these, and I'll list them on here so you can jot them down now in case you just missed me. So specific, is my objective specific to my business? Is it specific to help me achieve my aim? If it's not, don't write it down. Adjust it to make sure that it is specific towards achieving your aims. Is it measurable? Okay. Number of inquiries is definitely measurable. If you achieve 30 inquiries over the next month, you know you've achieved 30 inquiries. If you've achieved 31, you know you've achieved 31. If you've achieved 10, you know you've achieved 10. It's really easy to measure. If you can't measure your objectives, again, think about actually, okay, how can we measure this? Is it possible for us to measure this objective? If it's not, go back to the drawing board every time and think, okay, we need to really think how we can measure this, because if you can't measure it, you can't then move on in terms of looking at return on investment and other things that are just important to your business. Is it achievable? So this is something that we all fall foul of, is over promising or saying we'll do something going to do it, and then thinking, oh, that's just not going to happen in that time. And then it's a case, right, okay, I'm going to have to just revisit this and start again, which none of us like doing, but we all do it. You know, it's just human nature. But making it achievable, if you're starting your marketing plan from scratch, and you've never had a marketing plan before, make it achievable is actually really difficult, because it's something that you don't necessarily know, how achievable this is going to be. So for example, achieving 30 inquiries next month, it could be a case that, next month, to be honest with you, over the last 5 years, you've never achieved 30 inquiries, but because you've never measured it, you're not able to make that assumption. So it's always good, in terms of being achievable, to start off small. Start off with something, actually, I think I can achieve this. And this is where it comes on to being realistic, making sure, okay, this is definitely something that could be achieved. Last December, we achieved 50 inquiries, so 30 we can definitely achieve. But it's a case of having that target and having that objective in place to say, right, okay, this is something we want to work towards. And then next month, revisit your objectives. 35 inquiries, 40 inquiries, 50 inquiries. As you go on month, increase that number. And the more that you can really feed back in terms of, okay, I can measure this, I know it's achievable, you're always going to be in that position. If it's not achievable, chances are that you're never going to progress, because you're always going to be sort of hitting that objective thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to meet this one. Make it achievable. Rewrite it, make it achievable for yourself, because the more boxes you tick, the better it feels. And at the same time, they're all working towards those aims. And then the final one is timely. And what we mean by timely is always giving it a deadline. Giving a start date and a deadline is really important for objectives. It's less important for aims, but it's very important for your objectives, because your objectives are designed to be those micro sort of feeders, shall we say, into your overall aim. And it could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 6 months. Anything more than 6 months, I would say that's an aim, because it's longer term in terms of focus. Anything short term, less than 6 months, put it down as an objective. Put it down as a real focus point. And going back earlier to that September dip, let's say sort of September dip point. It's the September dip. If you feel like you can achieve halving that dip, put that down as an aim, but then have your objectives feed into that aim. So have an objective to be running a paid advert for August with a £200 budget to achieve 20 inquiries, for example. Try to really just come up with really dynamic objectives that can feed into that aim and feed into that focus point. And then the final part of the marketing planning process is your campaigns and strategies. And I appreciate this is a lot of information to take in a very short space of time. For some of you, this may be, okay, we do all of this already, why is this useful to me? But it's important to obviously revisit this in terms of, okay, this year, I really want to have a good marketing plan and strategy in place. But campaigns and strategies are very much the high level things that can aid your overall objectives and aid your overall aims. And strategies are a lot different from aims, objectives. Strategies are what you're going to do. Strategy could be, I'm going to go and put 1,000 leaflets through letterboxes within my local community. I'm going to run paid adverts across Facebook, Instagram, and Google with this budget this month. And they are strategies. And the reason why you break it away from objectives is because a strategy may be something that over time evolves. An objective is something that you're just going to be ticking that box. Objectives you may rewrite, you may redo. Strategies, they may evolve, and you may have a campaign running for months and months and months. Or you may have a short-term campaign that within your team, you want your team to engage with it. You may say to your team, we're going to run, campaign growth, and that campaign growth could be a real fun activity that you and your team engage with. Or campaign reputation. It could be that you and your team are going to focus really on building your reputation of the setting in terms of Google reviews, day nurseries reviews, and really focusing on that one particular thing as a team. And you've then got your objectives in the back end that you're able just to tick off as things progress, basically. So a campaign is really something that enables, it tells you what you need to do, basically. And a big point of all of this, and a big thing to really think about, is with all of this and everything that I've just spoken about in terms of the marketing plan, you may think that's just going to take me forever to do that tonight. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm not going to do that tomorrow. I'm not going to do that this week. I'm not going to do that this year. It's just going to take me too long. The big thing to think about is marketing is very much an investment. Everything you do within marketing, providing that you're able to track it and able to say at the end of it, measure it in terms of, I've achieved this or I haven't achieved this, it's always going to help with regards to growth, or it's always going to help with regards to visibility, even by doing an extra social media post once a week for the next month. And that could be one of the takeaways you have from this. Just go and do something that you haven't done before in the marketing sense. And that investment, by just doing that one extra post, it may take 10 minutes of your time, it may take 20 minutes of your time, but it's still going to improve your overall visibility compared to not doing it at all. So always think, actually, okay, everything I'm doing with my marketing is always going to be an investment. It's not a cost to my business, because providing I get a return, it's always going to be an investment that's going forward. But the one thing, obviously, to be cautious of, if you run a paid advert and spend £100 and you're just doing it, just try it. I personally would always think, okay, get some advice, go on a course prior to it, or look on Skillshare. Skillshare is great for online courses for little things like marketing. And it just gives you that insight in terms of, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I set it up. A lot of them are walkthroughs. We also do a few workshops as well. We used to do a lot on our Facebook page, but we now do a lot on our website. But it's very much a case of just working through something, making that investment, and then analysing the response from that, basically. And in terms of calculating return on investment, this is fairly straightforward. I know it was on the sessions. I think it was on Monday session, I believe. In terms of return on investment, it's really important to think, okay, my time is also money here. With marketing, my time is money as well. And if I'm spending 10 hours doing a course, my hourly rate is, say, £20. That course is costing a lot. That course is costing me £200. And that in itself is your time that you're spending on that course. If you're able to come out of that course and run loads of paid adverts and be in a position where you're a paid advertising pro and you're actually getting really good responses from that, you've got a return on investment. If you invest in that course, you haven't really got time to do it, you actually don't really want to do it, don't put yourself through it, because time is money as well. And this example here is of a leaflet drop. A leaflet drop, for example, can cost you £120 for leaflets. It's probably a bit expensive, but for argument's sake, £120. If your staff have spent 10 hours distributing those leaflets, with working on one staff member at an hourly rate of £10, that leaflet drop is going to cost £220 to do. And you may think, that's not too bad in terms of cost, but actually, leaflet drops are untargeted. We don't know whose letterboxes we're putting these leaflets through. We don't know if we're putting this through a pensioner, or we're putting this through somebody that's just moved into the community and they're not having children, they're not planning to have children for the next 8 years. So actually, it could be the case that you're just not, it's not targeted. So if you factor that into it, yes, we've done a leaflet drop, and yes, it's only cost £220, but what's the return that we've got from that leaflet drop? And a real important one for this is add a QR code to your leaflets. Add a QR code and potentially to talk to your website team, or if you do your own websites, change the link or copy a page and have a different page just for the leaflet drop that you've got on that QR code on the leaflet. So every time somebody scans that and fills out the inquiry form on that separate page on your website, you will then know that they've come from that leaflet campaign. And you can then pinpoint, okay, we've had 10 people come from our leaflet campaign, and of those people, one of them registered. So they actually covered the cost of our campaign. Woohoo! We've got a return on investment. It could be that nobody completes that inquiry form, and therefore actually, return on investment's pretty minimal. You can do the same with telephone numbers. You can go online and there's actually a couple of places really, really affordable, like £1 a month, where you can have 10 numbers, and you can just put one of those different numbers on there, and you can then track, okay, what was the response through that one telephone number that's connected to my main number. So you don't need to do anything. It automatically puts them through. But when you log into the portal, you can see how many people called each number, and you can relate those numbers to each campaign. And the same goes for links. You could create a new page on your website, or you could go onto a website and create it as a tracking link and do exactly the same as that. But it's about being smart, and this connects straight back to that measurable, being able to measure things. And obviously, in our question, it was related to social media mainly, but you can also measure things a lot better when you're using tools, like phone numbers, like email, website tracking links, or like just inquiry forms, but having different forms for different activities. And it just gives you that insight, especially within your marketing plan, to say, yes, I did the leaflet drop and it gave me these results. And in the future, you can look back through that plan and straight away, I've got these results from this particular activity, and I'm going to run this one again because I know I got results last time. Let's run it again, or let's review it, and what can we do better next time? So when we talk about return on investment, these are the things I've just gone through. If you want to jot these down, because they're on the screen now, it might be easier. I appreciate I've crammed in a lot in the hour and talk quite quickly at times, just to get everything in. But in terms of return on investment, how much does it cost you to get an inquiry or applicant? How much does it cost you to get a new parent inquiring to your setting? What channel do they come from? Do they come from Facebook? Do they come from Google? Do they come from that leafleting campaign that we just spoke about? How many of those inquiries that came from that particular channel converted into registrations? How many of them came through a Google advert, and how many of those that came from that specific Google advert became a registration? And if you're able to pinpoint and pull this information through, you're in a real better position as a business owner, but also as a marketer. This is the type of information that all marketers love, because we're able to say to you, okay, it's cost you £10 to gain an inquiry. That inquiry came from the Google ad, and that inquiry registered. That inquiry actually only cost £10. So you've got a registration for effectively £10. In reality, it may be the case that you have 100 from £100 spend. But if you're able to say, okay, one inquiry is worth £10, actually our registration in this case has cost us £100 because we've had 10 inquiries that cost us £10 each, for example. But even so, £100 to have one registration is not bad. If you're working on, in this example here, parent fees, say £10,000 annually, that's still a return on investment of £9,900. And it may be a registration that you wouldn't have got if you didn't run that campaign, or if you didn't spend that money on that marketing activity. It may be that you never would have got that registration. So it's a real important thing to think about. And return on investment for this year is a massive thing to take away. And from this session, if there's anything that you go and do now, it's okay, how can I make sure that I'm tracking my return on investment? And that's a really, really, really big area to think about. And obviously further thoughts, and this is obviously just going into detail now. And we'll happily take any questions as well at this stage in terms of what questions you've got about any particular marketing questions, even if it's something we haven't gone through today. But how can you streamline your marketing? How can you make sure that things are working for you and your marketing's working for you as well? And it may be the case that you hire somebody to manage it for you. It may be the case you've got somebody in your team already. Maximize those opportunities. Ask around your team. How can you manage our social media? Or would you like to help and support with our social media? You may have the skills and abilities within the team already, but a big area is track everything. Everything you do, and even if you get your team working on things and activities relating to marketing, how much time are they spending on it? And how much is that time costing you as a business owner? But also you're having to interfere and update things. So how much time are you spending on that as well? So it's a really important thing. Track everything, measure return on investment, and really try and engage as much as you can with thinking about those numbers. And it's hard to do, but that's the one focus that I would say to try and really achieve. Automate what you can. This is another area that a lot of the time we forget. There's a lot of tools out there that can help us automate some processes. And it could be the case that you're using an inquiry management system to do that. We've got our own inquiry management system at Childcare Marketing called Flourish. We've got hundreds of automation tools built in. We've even got like birthday cards built in. So you can send out a birthday card every year automatically to that parent, for their child. So you've got, real complex tools, but actually for what your needs are, you may just want to be automating a few things just to alleviate that pressure now. But in the future, you may want to automate a lot more, and you may think, okay, this is just saving me time and saving me money. but don't overdo it. Don't go down the route of, I'm going to do absolutely everything today, and from tomorrow onwards this is going to happen, because it simply won't work like that. Think about it step by step and make a solid plan for this year. If there's one thing to go and do, track everything you can. Think about return on investment, but all plan together, basically. And here's a link here to Flourish if you want to go and have a look at that, just to give you an example of what platforms are out there. I know a lot of nursery softwares have got platforms built in, but if you're looking at good tools, I'd look at tools like HubSpot, Salesforce, and that type of tool, which are very complex, but at the same time, the amount of automation, the ability for tracking in those tools is a lot better. Flourish is a bit more simple. I say have a look at it, and obviously let me know your thoughts. So does anybody have any questions at all? I appreciate that was probably a lot to take in a very short space of time, so apologies, Imogen.
No, I mean, thanks for stressing return on investment. I mean, I didn't hear the gentleman speak personally, but I heard a funny story about return on investment in a marketing way not so long ago, and it was a comedian called Jimmy Carr was comparing an award ceremony, and this gentleman and his wife were up for an award for marketing campaign of the year. And they'd gone up on stage, and they had one of those photography businesses that specializes in babies, the newborn. You have to have the picture taken within a certain number of days, and it's all very cute and everything. And they'd done this campaign, and they'd spent a lot of money. I'm talking a 4-figure sum on marketing, and they brought in 50,000, something like that, in sales, and they were delighted, and they were up for this campaign of the year. And Jimmy Carr's first reaction was, well, you're a bit stupid, aren't you? Because if you spent $3,000 and brought in 50 grand, why didn't you spend $6,000 and bring in 100 grand?
Yeah.
And it's I mean, they probably were mortified that this comedian was taking the mickle, but it's the obvious thing to do. If you find out something that works, you do more of it, don't you? But if you don't know what part of your marketing's working because you're not tracking it, you're not analysing it, you're not doing your numbers, which Jane banged on about very well on Monday night, we don't know. So I hope people take that away and do number crunch and do we'll get some kind of marketing template out there so that people can pull their ideas together as a consequence of this evening. But we'll
pop some templates in the group.
Thank you. And you could pop a template. You do a screen grab of that one that you showed a few seconds ago with the questions on as well. That would be good, because there was some good questions there that people should ask themselves. If you can pop a screen grab of that would be fantastic. Brilliant. Well, if we haven't got any questions, if nobody's probably all gone to go and analyze their marketing now, but well, thank you very much.
Too much to take in.
Absolutely, it's probably a good one for watching on replay. But thank you so much for your time this evening, Ben. And if anyone's watching this, or you're here live and you're watching it, and you've got some want to show some love to Ben for his time this evening, then please do that. We do appreciate that, and that's very useful. And Ben's in the group, like all of our masterclass experts, they're all in the group this week. So if you tag them in the Operation Respond pop-up Facebook group, they'll see your post, see your question. If you've got anything that they can help you with, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help and to share their wisdom a bit more with you. But thank you so much for your time this evening. And I'm going to go and get in the car and drive for 3 hours. That's a crazy thing to do on a Wednesday evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's end the broadcast.